Hi everyone, we're both here today to talk about the rising CPCs across both Google Ads and paid social. I'm Sam, I work here on the paid social team.
And I'm George, I work on the paid search team here at Return, and this video is going to be great for you if you spend any sort of amount of money on any sort of paid media, whether that be paid social or paid search.
So George, can you potentially speak to a little bit about why CPCs are on the rise with paid search?
So paid search is, as it always has been an auction system, and it's more accessible than ever for any sort of size of business. So we're talking, shops on the high street have always been involved, but now it's getting to the point where little one-man bands can get involved, and you can set campaigns up on a smartphone, for example. So it just means the amount of people who are active on paid search is bigger than ever, and obviously as it's an auction system, that just drives cost per click up over the years. So that's the main reason behind it. There are a number of other factors, but that's the primary one. I imagine it's something quite similar to what we see on paid social.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past 5 years, we've seen ad revenue for paid social rise upon billions, meaning exactly as what's happening for yourself with paid search, is that more and more people are coming to the platform and advertising, and as they can with paid search, you can advertise through your mobile phone now, very easily accessible. So more and more people are flooding and trying to have access to the same audiences that we're trying to have access to. And of course, as more people enter the system, it's going to get more expensive.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned, obviously, a lot of people who are in the paid social sort of arena are seeing rising cost per clicks. Is there anything that you would recommend people do to avoid or sort of negate the effect of the rising cost?
Yeah, absolutely. There is certainly something that you can do. The first point of call is that we would try and do is try to refine our audiences down. It somewhat seems oxymoronic that you would try and go for a smaller audience, but if you go for a larger audience, it's far more saturated with people who are less interested in your brand. So by reducing the size of your audience and refining it a lot more, you reach a much more niche group of people, and they're going to be far more interested in your brand than maybe a far wider audience might be. So by doing that, you will actually see a decrease in CPCs. We don't usually just go for one interest-based audience. We maybe go for 2 or 3, depending on who the brand is. You will often see there's an overlap in these audiences because anyone who likes your brand, they're all going to share something in common. So you will see an overlap where they will fit into multiple audiences. So if you're running multiple audiences at the same time, you will often see that the similar kind of people will exist in all of them. And if you try to reduce this overlap, which you can do using Facebook's overlap tool, you'll be able to see what the overlap is and then work your way to reduce it. This, of course, is all based in how you target people, but in failing that, and after you've executed that, if you're still seeing higher CPCs, it may be something just far simpler in that your creative might be tired, it might be fatigued, your audience might have just grown wary of seeing it all the time. So by implementing a new refresh of your creative and you're introducing just a new breath of life, a new bit of freshness into the audiences, you'll always see a reduction in CPCs there.
Is there any sort of rule of thumb when it comes to how often you should be refreshing your creative?
It all depends on the brand itself. Yeah. It's all about monitoring those CPCs, monitoring those KPIs, be it how much traffic you get to the site, how many people are purchasing from your ads. If you see a reduction in these, you can often see the audience fatigue and the creative fatigue happening before your eyes.
Even if an ad is working really well, would you still recommend, refreshing the creative?
Absolutely, because what will happen is that you will create a negative brand affinity by showing the same thing to someone over and over again. Yeah. They're always going to get bored of it, and they will always grow fatigued of it, which in turn will increase your CPCs. So obviously this is something how we combat this and how we work with rising CPCs in paid social. Is there something that you work with on the paid search team with how you work to lower CPCs?
So the major one over the last year for us has been via shopping. So for a lot of our e-commerce clients now, shopping takes up, sort of like 75% of their budget. So, any sort of savings we can make on shopping are going to have, a really big impact across, when we look at the account as a whole. So one that has come in over the last, 1 or 2 years is the introduction of alternate shopping CSS providers, is what they call it. So this came off the back of a court ruling which basically found that by Google being the only people who are allowed to deliver shopping product listing ads, that's deemed as anti-competitive. So basically now any shopping comparison site can also inject product listing ads into Google shopping searches. So when they do, they sort of offer a discount of roughly about 20% to the retailer. So you'll find a lot of big brands are now on board with these alternate CSS providers. So, you know, if you're spending £100,000 a month on purely shopping ads, then instantly by switching CSS provider, you can save, you know, 20 grand instantly. So that's been one that we've been encouraging our clients to get on board with. It's sort of a no-lose scenario. It's just an instant discount on your shopping CPC. So, you know, 20%, you know, overnight is nothing to sniff at. Another one that we're always been focusing on is day part bidding. So, you know, the temptation can be there if you want to reduce your CPCs to just, you know, knock down the keyword bids, but it's a bit of an amateur approach to it. So what we would look to do instead is, you know, look throughout the week, hours in the day where we're performing best, where we see the lowest conversion rates. We would do ad schedule bid modifiers. So that's where we reduce the bids in certain periods during the week. So what this means is basically you're going to reduce your exposure during that time, but it also means your CPCs are going to come down in that period individually, but it also brings your CPC down as a whole. And you can either, you know, choose to just absorb that saving, or you can transfer that saving into periods during the week where it performs a lot better. So, you know, you can take the CPC saving, or you can just reinvest it into other areas of the account.
So obviously those are some things that you can work with based on how you would change your bids. Is there anything perhaps that you can work with on the strategy side that would lead to a reduction in CPCs?
Yeah, sure. I think the temptation is when you kick off a Google Ads account is to go for the searches that are really high volume, you know, the ones that sort of come instantly to you. So the ones which are obvious. What I would do to bring down your overall CPC is to look at more long tail searches. So, you know, with the introduction of things like voice search, these are becoming a lot more common nowadays. So you will see like increases in searches for, like, rather than just hair extensions, it'll be things like the best hair extensions, deals on hair extensions, that kind of stuff. So as you go into more long tail searches, you'll find that there's less retailers actually competing in those auctions, and like I said at the start, the more people in the auction, the higher the cost. So obviously on the flip side, the less people in the auction, the lower the cost. So you imagine over time a lot of retailers will get into these long tail searches, but you know, if you can be one of the first to sort of expand what you do into the long tail searches, then you can, you know, really reap the benefits and get some clicks to your site at a really cost effective rate.
Thanks, George. That was really helpful. So if you have any more questions about what we've covered in this video, you can leave them in the comments below and we'll get back to you. Or alternatively, you can just reach out to us through our website and we'll get in touch.